In ancient Greece, true religion was the worship of the sun, moon, and planets, while atheism was a lack of belief in the planets as gods. Witness this exchange between Socrates and an accuser named Meletus, who had brought charges of atheism against the great philosopher. Socrates was executed for the impiety for failing to acknowledge the state gods, the heavenly bodies. Plato, who related this conversation, also spoke of planetary gods whose circuits we see in the sky. Aristotle taught that the forefathers of ancient Greece left a tradition that the planets were gods, all nature was divine. The ancient Greeks were not alone in the belief that the planets were gods. The Romans believed the same. According to the Roman philosopher and statesman Cicero, the stars, meaning the planets, were intelligent beings to be considered gods. The Romans worshipped the same planet gods as the Greeks. It is by their Roman names that we understand their true identity. From Plato, Herodotus, and other Greek historians, we learn that the Greek gods were merely Egyptian gods with Greek names. For example, the Greek planetary god Zeus, according to Herodotus, was known earlier in Egypt as the god Ammon. In other words, Egypt, Greece, and Rome worshiped the same gods, the planets. But these three ancient cultures were not alone in their planetary worship. All ancient cultures worshiped the planets as gods. Philo Judaeus of Alexandria stated the obvious when he declared that planetary worship was common throughout the ancient world. So basic was the ancient conception that the planets were gods and the gods were the planets, their very language conveyed the idea. In ancient Sumer, for example, the cuneiform sign or determinative for God was the picture of a star. The Egyptian hieroglyph signifying God was sometimes a star with 3 lines beneath it. The Israelites were not immune to the worship of the planets. When not following the counsel of the prophets, the children of Israel were worshiping pagan idols, images of the host of heaven. The host of heaven, of course, were the planets. The Israelite golden calf was modeled after the Egyptian Apis, the bull of heaven, which in turn represented the planet god Mars. Even the tabernacle was desecrated with planet worship. The prophet Amos accused the Israelites of carrying images of the planet god Saturn in the tabernacle, an accusation that the Apostle Paul repeated. In fact, the early Christian theologian, St. Augustine, considered Saturn to be the god of the Jews. So did the Roman senator and historian Tacitus, among others. The case that the ancients worshipped the planets can be made throughout the world. Every ancient culture worshipped the planets. As the scientists Giorgio di Santillana and Hertha von Dechenne concluded in their groundbreaking analysis of ancient mythology, Hamlet's Mill, Aristotle was correct when he said the planets were the gods of antiquity.